And here we are with Izzie coming out of the front door. Okay, I'm going to move her a little bit closer to the doorway. Sit so you can see her. But this is what we do with her multiple times a day. We're coming out of this front door. We have her sit. We always stand out first, just to accentuate the fact that this is actually our boundary and not hers. And she would never chase us out or follow us through this boundary unless ever, period. And she doesn't go through this boundary unless she goes through with us. So she waits till I come back with her next to her, and I pat my leg and say, okay. And she walks out with me without pulling. I'm going to do a little left circle here because if you're by yourself, you're going to have to close this door. So always turn left into her like that. Use your body. See how I'm doing that? The most you'd have to do is kind of tap the leash and then use your body. And then out here, this is our front yard, and I would just sit. I would have her sit, and I would release her to be free. Go, sweetie. Let's do that again. Go. And then she would know that she'd have free time in the yard. And then I would come back at some point, call her to come to me. Of course, she is already in front of me. Good. I'd hook her up on the leash. Okay. And I would step into her. See how my body does all the work. Have her sit. And then we do the same thing going in. And we do this with all the boundaries, actually, and you can do it inside your house with every doorway. You can do it at gateways, curbs. The front door is the most important place, I think, though. And it's the most beneficial place to practice this because she is undoubtedly, like most dogs, used to having strangers come through, and that makes her overstimulated here at this boundary. And also, she's probably pulling you in and out of the front door, like when you're taking her for a walk or when she wants to go back inside. So if you practice with her being super calm in this red zone, so to speak, it's really working on her ability to be calm in other exciting situations. So that's why we always practice with these very important boundaries at every household. Okay. Okay, we're walking her up to the mat. We're going to say sit, and then she's on your left, obviously. With your right hand, you're going to pat her chest and make sure you're keeping this leash loose whenever you have her sit. Pat her chest and say, go to your mat, walk over with her and say down. If she doesn't go down right away, you can just apply a little bit of pressure. She usually will go down like that. See how she's hanging off the mat just a little bit? We can just lightly walk into her and touch her little paws with our shoes, or kind of press. Don't crush her paws or whatever, but walk into her like that and touch her paws with the bottom of your shoe, and she'll back up. And then you reward her on this mat in this way, where you lay the reward down and say good when she takes it, but make sure that she really waits. Good. Doesn't try to take it out of your hand, isn't grabbing it or touching your hand. This may seem like it's a tiny little thing, but it's really, no. See that? Good. It's really important that she wait, because this is all about staying focused on the mat and not having that reactive state of mind where she just impulsively grabs the food out of your hand or takes it before you've withdrawn. So this is a mindfulness exercise for the dog. Notice how I'm rewarding her, how I swing in like that. I'm not going like this, because that would make her probably pop up, because you would be, in essence, you'd be kind of luring her to stand up. So always come in like this. Good. Make sure you say good whenever she takes that reward at that moment. Timing is very, very important. Later on, when you say good, she's going to think she got a piece of food when there is no food, because of course we are, in many instances, many situations, we are going to be phasing the food out as the training continues. Good. And she's not making a mistake. She's not popping up. This is only less than 2 weeks of training, and she's doing really well. It's all about the stay, obviously. So the fact that I can walk out of the shot and she can stay there, and I'm probably 20, 30 feet away all the way to the other end of the yard, and come back, all the way back. If she does something exceptional where she really does something that's hard to do, give her a bigger reward. and not bad for just being here for a couple of weeks. And of course, we're not saying stay. We are building stay into the down, and whatever she learns on this mat, she'll soon be doing without the mat. That's why we practice the mat first. It's a fast track to teaching her a very solid down stay. The way that we release her, since she's not going to make a mistake, obviously, the way that we release her is to stand next to her, pat our leg, and say, okay, okay. Lead her off the mat, have her sit right in front of the mat like this. And then with our right hand, release her. Go. Go. There you go. Good girl. Come on. We always approach the new person, and we never have the new person approach us in this greeting routine. Make sure that she's staying in a sit stay. You step away from her, you hand the new person a little reward, and she goes over to them and she accepts that reward. So she's staying seated, she waits till I come back to her, I say, go say hi, she goes over, she gets petted, she takes the treat, and then I say, come! She comes running back to me, good. And normally we might do this greeting routine sit. We would start maybe a farther distance away from the new person, but we're trying to fit everything into the camera here. But you can do this from this might be 10 feet, you can do it from 12 and 15 feet. You've got a lot of room here because you've got a 6-foot leash. You can always extend your arm to walk way over to the person, give that person the reward. She waits. So you come back, you pat her chest and say, make sure that you're never restraining her as well, by the way. Always a loose leash. If she gets up before you release her, it's just a little tap and she'll go back. Pat her chest and say, go say hi. She goes over, gets the treat. You say, come. And you practice her little recall, good. Let's do it one more time. Sit, notice how I step into her, and I use my body every time to step into her, and she flips around and sits on my left. It's a very structured exercise. It's very simple to do. You get to practice your release, your go to somebody. You get to practice your come command, your sit stay. It's a great thing to practice. And also, if you are always rewarding her when she meets a new person like this, and you do this multiple times, and we're going to do it at your house when we deliver her to you, and you designate a spot maybe outside your house in your driveway or the sidewalk. You do it in that same spot every time. She's going to associate anybody that she meets there over time is that person's cool, that person's going to have treats, it's safe, and therefore that person is okay, and they can come with you after that onto your property and into your house, and we'll work on how to do that when I see what your layout is when I actually deliver her. There's a way to do that to really make sure that the dog knows that that person's okay, and therefore I don't have to guard my property or my people from that person because of the way that this greeting routine in that spot that you practice all the time changes her perception of what it means to have a new person come onto your property or in your house. So one last time, and I'm doing a lot of talking here, but she's staying in a sit stay. She made a mistake. So no, she popped up, say no. And she's very sensitive, so there's no rough stuff here. It's all gentle but firm and consistent. So all I did was I said no, and I reset her. And I'm gonna, before I send her over for the last time, I'm going to add a little walk around sit stay because it takes a bit more focus on her part to do this, to wait to go over to get the treat from the new person, and then go say hi after that, take the treat, come. One last recall, good girl, and we're done. I want to show you exactly how I've been practicing the come command with Izzie. First of all, if you do it the same way every time, after a while it will become like second nature. So always try to just do it the same way, like I do it. Left hand leash, right hand reward. Put that leash, make sure you're using a 6-foot leash. put the leash over your hand so it's not hanging on your wrist. That way you have the hand free, so you don't have to hold on to it, and you don't have to do this or any of that kind of stuff. It's completely free. Your right hand is for the reward, whether you have a little fanny pack or a pouch or whatever you're using. You can just reach in there, you have the reward. Make sure you call her to this closed hand, because of course we're always wanting to, and I'll call her back to come to me right now. Come! See how I'm backing away, and she really wanted to go to the camera person, but she responded, she turned around, I tapped her a few times and she came my way. I have to stay in this tight shot here for the camera, but normally, and I think I'm just going to go out of the shot to show how you would normally do this. When you back away, and you back away quickly, the dog is motivated to run to you, and that's the kind of recall that we want. So let's say that we have a situation where she won't stop staring at you lovingly like this, and you need to create your own distraction, because you always want to call her, even in practice, you want to call her away from something that she's interested in, because that simulates a real situation. She's going to be running away from you, chasing something, going towards something that's not good for her to eat on the ground or something like that. So we can create that by tossing a treat this way, and she's over there eating it, and then come, backing away. Good, and that time I didn't even have to tap her. But if I backed away quickly, she would have moved back to me quickly. The way that you practice it is very important. If you practice it in a way that creates a great result, that's what you're going to have in real life. So always practice it where you use the target, because obviously in a high stress situation, a crisis moment, you're not going to have a treat, and you probably won't have a leash. So practice with this. She doesn't know that there's nothing in there. Practice with the closed hand as the target. When you're practicing, you always have a reward, but when you don't have a reward, it's going to work really well. Always back away when you call her to come to you. If she doesn't respond the first time you say come, don't drag her. It's never a tight leash, and it's never a continuous tension where you drag her to you. You're going to tap and back away, tap and back away if you have to. But most of the time she's going to run right to you. And the faster you can back away, the faster she's going to run to you. And you'll see if you practice it that way for a while. Now this is just after maybe 10 days of practicing. But if you practice for a few weeks this way, you can be standing with your back to a wall or not being able to back away. And because you practice that way a few hundred times, she'll run to you, because that's all she knows. It's the way that you teach her that makes it, brings it from being mediocre to great. So when you are practicing, make sure that you have some distance behind you to back away, so you can back away and she is drawn to you and she'll run to you. Never repeat the command. That's why we always practice on a leash when we're teaching her something, because a leash is a way to gently but firmly reinforce whatever that command is. The pattern is somehow she hears that command once and ends up there somehow, and something good happens, which of course motivates her to want to do it that way every time later on. So that is the way that we're practicing the come command.